Welcome to Find the Yes to Reduce the Stress for You and Your Caree. I am Bobbi Carducci. I am a certified caregiving consultant and a certified caregiving educator. I'm a member of the Professional Association of Caregivers. I lead a caregiver support group in my local community. I've been involved in dementia care since 2002 when my husband's father came to live with us. I've also been a writer since I was 8 years old, so I've written 2 books on caregiving, one called Confessions of an Imperfect Caregiver, which is the story of our life. It reads like a novel, but every word is true. And it came about when caregivers would say to me, I wish somebody would write a book that tells what it's really like. And I thought, well, I can do this. I started writing it when my father-in-law was living with us. And then his care took over, and I couldn't continue. I went back to it a few months after he passed away, and going back and reliving it was just too emotional. I couldn't do it. So it took about 2 years before I finally said to Mike, I want to write this book. It's an important book. I'm going to go back into it. I'm going to relive it. You're going to have to deal with the consequences because I'm going to cry. I'm going to be out of sorts. Let's do this. So I did that. And then I began what I knew, having done what I did for 7 years, understood how difficult it was to be a caregiver and how unprepared I was to do this. I knew that I wanted to advocate and support caregivers in any way that I could. And all I could say is if I only knew then what I know now. And I tell people, if I did, I would make fewer mistakes. But I also know that I would still make mistakes because there's no way to be the perfect caregiver. You just can't do it. But if you know better, you do better. So Mike and I continue to go to caregiver conferences and to learn from other caregivers. And then I found caregiving.com and Denise Brown and her programs and studied under her to be a caregiver consultant. So I do phone consulting to caregivers, and I'm in education. I go out and I teach in the community, and now I'm a national and international caregiver speaker. And it changed the entire course of not only my writing, because I was going to write the great American novel and be rich and famous. And I'm not rich or famous, but I think I produced a very meaningful book that helps people. And I'm constantly learning and I'm constantly sharing the information that I gather as I move through the caregiving world. And I hope I can do it for several years more. What's really become a focus for me, though, is to talk to people about caregiver stress, because there is absolutely no way that you can be a caregiver and not feel tremendous stress. And stress kills. And stress kills caregivers. As Mike mentioned in his presentation, most of the caregivers at present, because a lot of it is dementia care, are women in their 60s who are caring for their parents in their 80s. And they're dying. The caregivers are dying before the person that they're caring for. The stress becomes too intense and they're dying. And they're dying from lack of sleep, lack of nutrition, lack of medical care, because they're doing everything for everyone else. The other reason that there's so much stress for caregivers is they don't understand the dementia brain. They don't understand that it's so much more than a memory problem. Dementia, whether it's Alzheimer's disease or Lewy body disease or frontal lobal dementia or vascular dementia or Huntington disease or any of the other forms of dementia, this is brain atrophy. And your brain controls every part of your body. So when someone has dementia, yes, their memory is affected. So is their vision. So is their hearing. So is their balance. So is their ability to reason. So is their ability to connect action with reaction. And I'm on a number of caregiver websites and caregiver Facebook pages and social media sites, and I hear the same questions over and over again. And I hear the same frustrations over and over again. Because the caregivers don't understand why their parents or loved ones do what they do. Why this person that you've known for years and years as a competent, intelligent, reasonable adult, all of a sudden all of that's gone out the window. One of the first things that I hear, and hear constantly, is why is he lying to me? He lies to me all the time. I came downstairs and there was a slipper in the microwave. Why did you put a slipper in the microwave? I didn't put a slipper in the microwave. What are you talking about? Why would you say that I would put a slipper in the microwave? Well, Dad's not lying. Mom's not lying. Mom doesn't know how the slipper got in the microwave because she doesn't remember putting the slipper in the microwave. And she may not even know what a microwave is. Mom's not lying. Mom doesn't remember. Mom doesn't understand. So it's important for us when we're dealing with the dementia brain, and the person with the dementia brain, to find a way to address what's going on with them in a way that's not confrontational. And that's not easy. That's hard. And I can tell you right now, I broke all of the rules that I'm going to try and teach you today because I didn't know what I was getting into. Mike's dad had been my father-in-law for 15 years, but I didn't really know the man. He lived in Pennsylvania. I lived in Virginia. When we went to visit, his dad was very courtly. He'd stand up and say, "Hi, nice to see you. How's everybody? How's everything doing?" And he would go off on his own. And then he would give me a hug or a handshake, and I would go home. And my mother-in-law was this woman who lived her life in exclamation points. And even when he was around, she'd say, "Go away. Nobody wants to hear what you have to say." In order to get him to do what she wanted, she would yell at him. So when she passed away and we welcomed him into our home, in my blessed ignorance, I thought, when he comes into my house, which is calm and welcoming, and he's not being hollered at all the time, he's going to thrive in my care. I've got this. And I even said to Mike at that point, it'll be difficult on some days, but we can handle this. Now, what I didn't know until pages and hundreds of pages arrived from the VA hospital in Pittsburgh because he had been diagnosed as a 100% disabled veteran. What we were told was because he had been injured in the war, he had a plate in his head, and that kind of explained his quirky behavior. So this box of medical records arrives, hundreds of pages, and I'm sitting in bed next to this guy. And in case you haven't, this is my husband, not some random guy I was sitting next to in bed. And I read, paranoid schizophrenic, diagnosed in 1947, released from the hospital in 1960. 13 years in a mental institution. 1940s to 1960, you can imagine the treatments that this man went through. And I looked at my husband and I said, "Why didn't you tell me?" And he said, "I didn't know. I didn't know." When my father-in-law got out of the hospital, it was after that that he met and married my mother-in-law and adopted my husband. So he had been told the same story that all of the family had been told. So my first thought was, oh boy, this is going to be a lot bigger than I understood. So that's when I decided I needed to get some medical training, and I took some courses to become a medical assistant, not because that was going to change jobs, but because I wanted to be able to talk to the doctors and understand what they were saying and have some idea that they would take me seriously. So I did that, thinking, he could need shots somewhere down the line. I just wanted to be able to take care of him the best way that I could. And since he was born in Italy and left there as an adult, I thought I'll take some lessons in Italian too, just in case he reverts back to his native tongue. It just enough to say, are you hungry? Are you in pain? So I did that. Now, this is the difference between the two of us, and he mentioned that. His thought was, okay, Dad's paranoid schizophrenic, but he's taking his medicine and everything's fine and there's nothing to worry about. But I was looking years down the road and making plans for that. And then he started acting strange, and I kept saying to the doctors, this is going on. I was taking him to the psychiatrist to get his psych medications. I was taking him to his primary care doctor. I was taking him to his cardiologist. And at first, every 3 months, and he began to behave strangely. And eventually, about a year into it, he had a complete psychotic break. I was trying to kill him. We were poisoning him. He ended up in the psych ward for 8 weeks. The doctor's saying, don't come anywhere near him. He's really mad at you. He's doing these very dangerous posturing. He's probably never coming home. And I thought, I failed. Oh my God, I failed. I didn't see this. I couldn't get the doctors to understand. He's never coming home again. What am I going to do? And we got a call saying, how fast can you get here? We're releasing him today. I said, what are you talking about? What do you mean you're releasing him today? You said he's never coming home. What, you don't want him? I said, didn't say I didn't want him. Don't understand this. Well, anyway, we got there. We bring him home. Guess what? They sent him home with pneumonia. 2 days later, he was back in the hospital, in ICU, nearly died. Spent another 4 weeks in the hospital and came home a completely changed man. It began a downward spiral that took years, but he never fully recovered from that. And I, to this day, feel if only I had figured this out quicker, maybe this wouldn't have happened. And then as time passed, he was diagnosed with dementia. He was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease. He had COPD. He'd had a valve replacement in his heart. Then he had a heart attack and congestive heart failure and spiral, one thing after another after another. And within that, we had the dementia brain and we had the psychiatric brain. And I didn't understand what was happening as far affecting his behaviors. And I would get so frustrated with him. And I'd say, for instance, Dad, you cannot put your wet tissues on the light bulb to dry because it's going to catch on fire and it's going to set the house on fire. Well, how do you know that? It hasn't happened yet. Dad, you can't do that. You're going to set the house on fire. And why do you keep doing that? You can't do that. So I took the tissues away. So then he was using a handkerchief and doing that. So eventually I took the lamp away and put one that he couldn't reach. And I kept saying, why do you keep doing? You're doing that to aggravate me. I know you know better. Why are you doing that? Not understanding that he was not comprehending. He may not even understood the words that I was talking about. And then I would get angry and I would feel guilty. And so we had this dance that was going on that nobody was following each other as far as the footsteps go. And it was becoming increasingly more difficult for me to function. You consider this going on for years. And I started having panic attacks. I started having migraines. My hair was falling out. Wasn't sleeping. It's a wonder I didn't end up in the hospital myself. And so much of that was because of stress, because I didn't understand how to cope with what was going on with him. We were almost constantly at odds, except when he really needed me and he really liked me, which sometimes went on for weeks and sometimes it was a very short period of time. And nobody had taught me that you need to meet them where they are. You can't expect them to come into our reality. We need to meet them where they are. And what I'm teaching today is, first of all, when dealing with your stressors are the problem. They're not the problem. We are the problem because we don't understand how to go into their world. So one of the stressors that I had was the need to correct. You think that it's okay to put the wet tissue on the light bulb. No, it's not. And I can tell them, I could have told him that as many times as I want, and he was not going to understand that. So I have to let go of the need to correct. I have to let go of the need to orient them to your reality. And the need to tell the truth no matter what. And the need to be right. Because I can promise you this, if you're dealing with somebody with dementia, you will never win an argument. Ever. And why is that? That's because their reality is as real to them as yours is to you. I think of it as if you've ever had a very vivid dream. Maybe it's a frightening dream and you see the things that's going on in the dream and you feel it and your heart starts racing and you jump out of bed and you're terrified. And then you realize, oh, it was a dream. I'm okay. You have the cognitive ability to say it was a dream. They don't. So if he's telling you that it's raining and it's not, you're not going to convince him that it's not raining because in his world, it's raining. So you have to think about, if you're looking to reduce your stress as a caregiver, to let go of your perceptions, of the need to correct them, of the need to orient them to your reality. You don't have to agree with them. Don't be a Judge Judy. When we do this, we're judging them. We're insisting there's only one way to answer, one way to respond. You know, Judy says, don't pee on my leg and tell me it's raining. If they pee on your leg, they think it's raining. So you don't have to agree with them, but you cannot expect to get them to agree with you. They just won't. So the key is to try to understand their perspective. Affirmation is key. You need to find the yes in dealing with them, or bang your head against that brick wall. And when you start arguing with them and you try to insist that you're right and you start to bring them into your reality, their stress level's going to rise, your stress level's going to rise, continually going up and up and up until you have a really dangerous and serious situation. What can we do instead? It's called yes and. Yes equals agreement, and equals add something to the conversation. It says, I get you and I care. Very often, a person with dementia will insist on going home. Well, they're either in a facility where they live or they're in your home. And they may have been in your home for 5 years or 10 years. They want to go home. Now, there's several reasons why that might be the case. One is, in their dementia brain, they went to sleep in a house that they lived in 20 years ago and woke up in a strange place. Don't know how they got there, don't like it there, don't want to be there. Take me home. The other is, I don't feel comfortable. I want to go back in time where I was a place where I felt that I belonged there. And I have to tell you, in May, I turned 70 years old. There are moments when I want my mother. When life is difficult, if something's stressing me out, I want my mom. I know that my mom is no longer living. I know that I can't go back to my childhood home. I am cognizant enough to know that that doesn't make sense. But somebody with dementia does not. So when they say, I want to go home, I have to take that as truth. They want to go home. One thing I could do is say, you want to go home? Give me a few minutes. Let me get some things in order. Let's go. First, I have to stop at the grocery store and pick up a few things. Come along with me. We go to the grocery store. I pick up a few things. I take him home. He got to go home. If it's in the middle of the night and you can't say that, you can say, oh, you want to go home? We're going to do that in the morning. Get some things together after breakfast, and after we get you dressed, we'll go home. Going to stop at the store and get some groceries, then we go home. And sometimes just walking into the house again makes them feel that they're at home. It's not going to work every time. It's not going to work for everybody, but it's an example of yes and. Because if I just said, you live here, you've been here for 5 years, you're not going anywhere, what's going to happen? He's going to get suspicious of me. Why are you trying to keep me here? And he's going to start arguing with me, and it's going to build the stress over and over and over again. Now, a lot of times in dealing with dementia, we're told to redirect them, to find something else to do. Well, a detour doesn't change the destination. Distracting him for a few minutes is not going to keep that idea in his head that I want to go home, take me home. When you take a detour, when you redirect, it just makes the trip a little longer, the destination harder to get, and it takes you a whole lot longer time to get there, and it raises the stress level over and over and over again. So keep this in mind. If you're dealing with dementia, you need to go where they are because they cannot go where you are. Another thing that's very common is they no longer recognize you. If you're dealing with a parent, go in the room, and it almost inevitably happens with someone with dementia that their brain takes them back in time, and they're actually living back in time in their mind, because the memories that came after that are gone. And all of our life experiences stay in this wonderful brain that we have. So as those later memories go away, they're living in the past. They really are. So say I have dementia and my 40-year-old daughter comes into the room, and I may not know her, because in my mind, she's 10 years old. I don't recognize this 40-year-old woman as my daughter. And if she says my daughter, I know somebody's trying to pull something on me, because that's not my child. I'm not old enough to have a child that age. I don't know who this woman is. Get her out of my house. And so I've told my daughter, if this happens to me, what I would like you to do is tell me your name, smile, and tell me about your mother. And she said, that's not going to happen to you. I'll tell my friends. But it's not going to happen to you. But it very well could happen to me. And if that doesn't work, if you walk in and your mom doesn't know who you are, who are you? I'm Bobbi. No. I have a daughter named Bobbi. You do? Your daughter has the same name that I do? Tell me about your daughter. But you can't say, Mom, I am your daughter. Why is it that you're trying to pretend that I'm not? What's going on here? Because then the suspicion builds. We need to go where they are. We need to find the yes and the and. And there are so many situations where that happens. And the more comfortable you can get with that, the better we're going to be. And there are a number of people who are dealing with people with dementia who say, that's lying. I would never lie to my mother. I would never lie to my father. And they continue to try to convince them, I'm your child. This is where you live. Yes, you did put that slipper in the microwave. And it continues to build. And what happens to the caregiver is they think, I can't take this another minute. I wasn't cut out for this. I can't do this. This person that I used to love and admire, I can't stand her. I don't want to be with her another minute. And it can get so bad that it becomes dangerous for the two of you to be together anymore, because it's become so contentious. And the stress level has reached to such a capacity that you just can't deal with it anymore. And it's not easy to find this yes thing. You think of situations, daily situations. Showering, bathing becomes a huge issue. A lot of people with dementia absolutely refuse to take a shower, absolutely refuse to change their clothes. Now, that could be because I'm 70. In my mind, I'm in my 30s. I go in the bathroom, and there's this old lady. And I'm scared. I don't want to go in there. I don't want to see that old lady. I'm not going in there. You can't make me. Or bathrooms very often echo. And you go in there, and you hear these noises, and you don't know what they are. And somebody that you don't recognize is telling you Take your clothes off. Well, what's this about? I'm not taking my clothes off. I don't know you. You can't make me take my clothes off. Maybe I get my clothes off. I get in the shower. My vision is affected. My hearing is affected. My skin is super sensitive. You put me in this compartment and something's hitting me all over my body. No, you can't make me take my clothes off. You cannot make me get in the shower. So, what do? How do you find the yes in that situation? Well, one of those things you can do to the mirrors is cover them. So the 70-year-old Bobbi, who thinks she's 30, doesn't get scared. You can make that room as warm and as comfortable as possible. And you can, when you're assisting them wash, start with their feet. I don't know anybody who's an adult, unless they're a superstar, who doesn't have some kind of body issue. I don't want my children to see me naked. I don't want to feel vulnerable. I don't want to feel exposed. It is possible to bathe me through a towel across my chest. It is possible to bathe me with a towel across my lap. Those kind of things. But if they're absolutely refusing, I am not going to take a shower, and it's been days, and they begin to smell bad, you can suggest they take a shower, and no, I'm not doing it. You don't want to take a shower now? Okay. Why don't I get you a snack? Sit down and watch your program on TV. Just relax, enjoy yourself. And sometimes this is what will happen. They'll begin to think, I think I need to take a shower. And they'll go and they'll do it on their own. But if they don't have to shower. There are products out there that don't need water, they don't need soap. You can order them online and you can bathe them. And another thing is, okay, you don't want to take a shower. How about if you just wash your face and your hands? And your hands are clean. How about a little lotion on your hand? Doesn't that feel good? Well, how about your arm, too? And you get to that place. But if you insist that they get naked and take a shower, they're going to dig in. They're going to absolutely dig in. So the clue is always find the yes. Find a way to meet them where they are. Now, I was hoping for a whole room full of people so we could practice this. But I want to think about some of these situations. I'm like I said, I'm on a great deal of websites and social media sites for caregivers and people with dementia. And I see some things on there that just makes me cringe. And one of them was a video of the family in the living room. And the mom was sitting in a recliner, and next to her was a man sitting in the recliner about the same age. And the woman with dementia is absolutely devastated that her husband has left her. She's crying, I don't know why, he doesn't love me, he's gone. Her husband's sitting beside her. Her son, Mom, it's your brain. Don't you understand? There's something wrong with your brain. Dad's sitting right here. It's your brain. Really? Really? Is she going to believe that? There's no way. Oh, okay, it's my brain. He's really here. Everything's fine. No. Mom, Dad loves you. He would be here with you now. He's going to come and see you soon. Yes, you're not saying yes, but you're validating her fears, her devastation, what she's feeling in that moment.
So do you think in that situation she is imagining the reason her husband's not there is because he's not the 20-year-old that she...
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
And who is this old fart sitting next to me?
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. So when you say when you acknowledge that he loves you, you're acknowledging the person in her brain, not necessarily the guy sitting beside her. You're not going to say, he's sitting right there. You're going to say that this person cares for her. And this happens a lot with people with dementia. They want to know where their parents have gone. Why is I don't see my mother or my father anymore. I don't see them anymore. And I've actually had people say, do I have to take her to the cemetery and show her the headstones? No. First of all, they won't remember. And secondly, you will put them right back into grief. My mother's dead? Oh my God. They start grieving over again. So, why doesn't my mother ever come and see me? Oh, Mom's going to come next week. Right now she's on a trip. Now, people have problems with this lying. But are you going to tell the woman, again, her mother's dead, over and over again and deal with that? Or you're going to say, Mom would be with you if she could. She would love to be with you. And you might even go and do something like get a greeting card. Here's something from Mom. To help them to go into the reality and help them cope with whatever it is that their brain is telling them at that moment. And it's important to understand you don't have to say the word yes. You just have to find a way to get into that positive moment. So I kind of like you to think about a situation, if you're dealing with somebody that has dementia, that's really bugging you or you think might really bother you, and tell me what it is, and we'll see if we can't figure out together a way to find the yes and in that situation. Recognize you're not in control. The disease is. Their reality is the one that matters. Yes, dear? I saw some hand signals. Was that 10 minutes or what? Okay. There's a book out there that I took a number of this information out. It's called Start With Yes. Look for it online. And it's based on improv. So think of a ridiculous situation. What your perception might be about that. One of the suggestions they give is, say you're going to Walmart and the parking lot is full and you think you found a space and somebody's got a van and they parked it across 2 or 3 spots. And maybe your first instinct is, what an inconsiderate SOB. Why would somebody do that? And you get mad and you get upset. Now try to think of unique situations where somebody might do that other than the fact that they're an inconsiderate jerk. Why would that happen? Change your perspective about that particular situation. What do you think? Why would somebody do that? Well, one of the women who wrote this book said, well, maybe they had to poop really bad. And when you say that, look what happens. People laugh. So when your person with dementia might be acting like a jerk, try to figure out why that might be and change your perspective. They are not doing it just to piss you off. Although I was convinced that's what was happening many, many times. That he knew better. He knew he was going to make me mad, and he did it anyway. So I want to thank you for coming. These are the 2 books that I have written on this subject. My blog is up there, The Imperfect Caregiver. My website is up there. My Twitter is up there. And I want to mention that Mike and I have just launched a podcast. We're working with Missing Link Productions to do a caregiver podcast. We've been absolutely blessed and amazed that they're doing this for us. I mean, they came to us, said, we would like you to do this. We know you're involved in the caregiving world. You have a platform. This is a huge issue. We would like to work with you. We recorded the first 4 episodes 2 weeks ago. And the first person was Denise Brown, who organized this. And it's called Roger That, after Mike's dad. So go to rogerthat.show, and you can hear us and our various guests on our brand new podcast. And again, it's that show, not that.com. And it's RODGER. And if you know someone who would benefit from spending a half hour at a time on the phone with somebody who understands dementia and caregiving, as a caregiving consultant, that's what I do. And the first consultation is always free, so you can figure out if I'm the right fit for you or if I have the information that you need. And after that first one, if you don't want to continue, there's no hard feelings. And you can do it on an as needed basis. You can do it on a weekly basis. You can do it on a monthly basis. But I'm more than happy to do that. And you'll probably see me at more events like this, because if I'm not speaking, I'm in the audience learning. And thank you so much for coming. And did you learn anything today? Yes. Thank you.